Anna is the founder of the World Youth Alliance, a global organization empowering and educating young people with their human dignity curriculum to advocate for the inviolable dignity of every human life from conception to natural death. The organization is involved in the UN and other intergovernmental organizations to bring about their vision of the future. She served as the World Youth Alliance president from 1999 to 2007. She has her master's in philosophy of religion from Yale University Divinity School and a bachelor of music from Mount Allison University in Canada. She is the current CEO of the FEMM Foundation, which is a research and evidence-based program committed to offering a new model of healthcare for women's reproductive health. She lives and works in New York City.
Welcome to the NFP Podcast, where we explore the empowering world of natural family planning. I'm Amy Smith. Join me and my co-host Emily Appledorn each week. Together, we're here to dive deep into the science, the stories, and the spirituality behind NFP. Every week, we push back against the free love culture and advocate for a culture of responsible love, where intentionality and respect are at the forefront of family planning. Join us as we discuss everything from the practicalities of charting and fertility awareness to the profound impact NFP can have on relationships and communities. Whether you're new to NFP or a seasoned pro, our podcast is your go-to resource for honest conversations, expert insights, and real-life experiences. So grab a friend, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. This is the NFP Podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to start, if you don't mind, just sharing with the listeners a little bit about your story. How did you come to the world of fertility awareness?
I came to this world because I was working in the field of global policy. So a lot of debate about women's health, women's rights. And the more we looked into it, we really saw that even though it gets pretty contentious sometimes, there's actually very little healthcare on offer. And so the question really emerged, do we have more science? Do we have more clinical knowledge than is actually offered to most women? And the good news is the answer was yes. We have this knowledge, we have this clinical, scientific, research, evidence-based knowledge, but there's a huge gap in terms of getting that knowledge to both healthcare providers and then making that access available to women. So that's really how the work of FEMM began, and that's, in a nutshell, the work that we try to do.
I'm curious a little bit more about your personal kind of path here, because your bachelor's, is it in music? From a
Yes.
university in Canada. So how'd you get from music to CEO of a women's health organization now?
Well, when you found organizations, you can give yourself any title you want. And so that's, I think, the shortest answer. So I was a Canadian music student. My music studies were interrupted when the World Youth Alliance was founded. I worked as president of the World Youth Alliance for the first 9 years. And then as we were working on this question we've discussed, is there a better way to answer these women's health policy debates? That's what led to the founding of FEMM in 2012. So I do want to make clear, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a scientist. I've pursued these questions as an interested person, which is a woman looking to solve problems with and for other women.
And how did you meet Dr. Pilar Vigil?
Dr. Pilar Vigil, Pilar and I met because we were searching for answers to this question. And the way that we were pursuing this was by reading all the research we could get our hands on. We wanted to know, is anyone publishing? Is anyone writing? Who's talking about this? Who's advancing the field? And as we did that, one name kept coming up over and over, Dr. Pilar Vigil, Dr. Pilar Vigil. And so we had a Chilean intern at the World Youth Alliance who said one day, you keep talking about this Pilar, and she's basically my godmother, and I vacation with her every summer, and her son is my best friend. So would you like me to introduce you? And I
Oh my
said,
gosh.
yes, please. And
Wow.
Pilar wrote back and was on her way to New York City to visit her daughter, who is doing postdoctoral studies here. Her daughter's also in OBGYN. And so we met, and I shared what we wanted to do. She shared what she had been doing. And we both decided to take a bet on each other. And that's how we met.
Gosh, what a small world, isn't it? My goodness. That's
Yes.
so cool. That's amazing. So when FEMM first started, what was well, I guess maybe we should start with what is FEMM? Because some people might have no idea what we're talking about. FEMM,
Yeah,
FEMM
FEMM
Health. What is it?
is a women's health organization. Yep, stands for Fertility Education and Medical Management. We recognize that ovulation is a sign of health in women. And that's because when a woman is ovulating, a mature, healthy woman, it's a proxy that over a dozen hormones are at the right level, at the right time, when they should be. So this is this great biomarker that allows us not just to understand what's happening in terms of our reproductive health, but in terms of the health of our whole bodies. So a woman who's ovulating, or we could say a teen who's ovulating all the way through her mature years, that's a woman who's going to have proper neuronal brain development. She's going to have clear skin, which is important to that teen and to most women. She's going to have energy. She won't have brain fog and fatigue after she's slept and eaten and exercised. She'll be able to do all those things well. Women love to know, young girls love to know that a teen who's ovulating will have that beautiful hourglass figure. Her bone density will be forming as it should. So this is why we say ovulation is a sign of health, because it's a proxy that's telling us that every system in the body is working the way it should. And women have the ability to understand in a very simple and straightforward way what's happening. They have the ability to understand what these biomarkers look like and essentially map the invisible hormonal changes that are happening in their bodies and answer this question for themselves. Am I healthy and normal? Is what I'm seeing and experiencing healthy and normal? Or do I have symptoms or side effects, or has something changed? And I want to access some help and some healthcare to assist me in pursuing what's going on, what's wrong, what has shifted or changed, and get that corrected. So FEMM is really focused on taking that science and equipping every woman to know if she is healthy and normal. We do this by offering our free FEMM app on the iPhone and Android stores. Women can also work with a FEMM teacher or any other kind of teacher to understand how to chart and know what their biomarkers are telling them. And then very importantly, when something goes wrong, women can now access FEMM medical care, which takes these advances in science and makes them directly accessible to women through a telehealth platform in the United States. So FEMM is committed to advancing the research, to putting that in the hands of clinicians and making that knowledge accessible, affordable, and easy to encounter for every woman who wants it.
And FEMM, would it be appropriate or accurate to describe it as an organization that seeks to restore women's, ovulatory cycles, so they don't use artificial hormonal birth control methods as treatment options? Or is that also an option for women seeking care? Or do doctors seek to use more restorative reproductive medicine approaches?
Well, we want women to understand this is what health is, and health is this relationship of each of our hormones to each other and to other systems in our body. We can think of hormones as signals that the brain is sending to every organ and system in our body. And so we have to make a decision as providers and also as patients whether we want to suppress those signals or whether we want to heal and restore those signals when they're down. So FEMM's entire purpose is to help women understand that ovulation is a sign of health, and then to restore that health when it's necessary by diagnosing and treating the underlying condition.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And so FEMM is a very all-encompassing organization, if I understand it, because they offer services for teens. So through the gamut of the reproductive years, from teens all the way up to perimenopause until you hit menopause. I don't know, do they also, if women are in this stage of menopause and need some type of hormonal replacement therapy, is that something else that they can reach out to access a FEMM physician?
Yeah, our medical protocols are set up and perfectly suited for puberty through menopause. So we have protocols and research, and our clinicians love to take care of women through all of those stages. And then, as you mentioned, we also have a program called Teen FEMM, and we've just recently launched a grade-specific curriculum, Teen FEMM and Teen Men, which is content for boys, content for girls, for grades 6, 7, and 8 for those middle school years. So that can be used in schools, and it's also being used by churches or youth groups or individual families or networks that want to just provide this information directly to their children.
That's excellent. Is that on the website?
Yes.
People
Yes.
can access it there. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are a patient in the reproductive years, if you're a mom of a teen girl, if you're a teen, if you're a woman trying to conceive, if you're a woman trying to avoid, if you're just a woman who wants to have healthy cycles and doesn't feel good, you can come here and you can find physicians that take insurance. Is that another aspect of this too, Anna, that they do
Yes.
take
So
insurances?
in the United States, we're currently in 43 states on our telehealth platform. We take a lot of insurance. We do our best to take as much insurance as possible. So our team can let a patient know, do we take their insurance up front? What are the implications? We have a sliding pay scale for those where we don't take insurance. But even if we don't take a woman's insurance, we make sure that the labs that we order, any medications we order, any treatments we order, are using her insurance. And those are the things that can really add up over time. So the FEMM telehealth team is committed to helping women and making access to this care as affordable as possible.
It also has a medical professional training program. Is that right? So if physicians find themselves kind of at a loss for treating women with reproductive disease and disorder outside of the standard pharmaceutical care that's being offered right now, they can go to FEMM and be trained in these alternative evidence-based approaches to helping women have healthy cycles and to ovulate throughout their reproductive life. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We offer our annual medical training in June in person every year in Columbus, Ohio, but we also offer it live stream and on demand online. So that medical training is available for any individual who can prescribe, can take the course. So that includes nurse practitioners, physician assistants, certified midwives. And we really welcome others to audit the course. So it could be a physician who's not sure if they're interested in this, or a nurse or a community health advocate. We love introducing the science. I think it's fascinating. And I think that what is exciting for everyone, whether you can really understand the details of everything we go through, which really nobody can do on the first pass, is really just to see how much is there. I think for anyone, whether it's an interested observer or a scientific layman, let's say, or if you're looking to provide this care for your patients, what's exciting is that the science goes as far, as deep, as wide as you can imagine. And the clinical application and the research validating that is there as well. And so I think it can be overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in an exciting way to say that the standard of care, the current standard of care for women, is insufficient at best, totally inadequate for many. It's a standard of care. We understand how we got here. We know that for most medical providers or parents who have chosen this standard of care for themselves or their daughters. These are people trying to do the best with what they have. So this is the standard of care that's known, but it's really looking to manage symptoms or manage outcomes in the case of pregnancy. And I think what's really exciting for people to have the opportunity to see for themselves is that the science has really advanced and we can do more. And so this is where FEMM says we really want to be part of changing the standard of care for women, improving that standard of care, and letting women and medical providers know we have the science that allows us to diagnose and treat that root cause. We don't have to settle for a Band-Aid solution. We can really understand what's going on and we can work to restore health.
Yeah, I think while the shift in the medical practice might sound slightly intimidating for someone who's been trained in a certain approach and has been practicing that way for a long time, from the patient perspective, it's incredibly hopeful to hear that, wow, people who've been telling me for a long time, they don't know what's wrong with me. It might not be that they're lying. They might actually not know because they haven't been exposed to this science and this research and this approach to addressing women's health issues. Especially I think of, the women who have really painful periods, who've had painful periods their whole lives and have been told this is the only option we have for you is to, take a birth control pill, which will help mitigate the pain pretty well, actually. Or for couples struggling with infertility who really want to get pregnant and are told, well, IVF might be your only option. And it's extremely expensive and not as effective as most people believe it to be. So very encouraging and hopeful. Physicians only have so much time with their patients. And this is a reality, whether you're doing telehealth or not. Oftentimes in modalities like something like FEMM, you might have a little bit more time with your physician than you would if you were in a primary care practice going into the office. But the other, so the kind of the coupling component of this is working with a teacher to help you identify biological markers, track those correctly, monitor those biological markers, so then you can use that information and give it to your physician and they can read that charting pattern. So correct me again if I'm wrong here, Anna, but FEMM also offers trainings for people who want to teach other people how to chart their biomarkers. Is that correct? And what biomarkers specifically does FEMM look at? Is it a cervical mucus only method? Do they use the basal body temperature, cervical positioning checks, et cetera?
Yeah. So FEMM teacher training is very popular, and we have a great team who provide this information to anyone who wants to become a FEMM teacher. So as you know, anyone who wants to learn the science is welcome. So it's not necessary to have a medical background or any type of background, just to be willing to sit down and learn and work, but also have a passion for understanding this information and bringing it to women. So the FEMM teacher training program is offered online 4 times a year. It's 10 weeks of science and then a supervised teaching practicum, like many of the models. We think it's important
online?
for FEMM teachers.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Anna. It's offered online. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's important, and I think it's sometimes surprising, or it's news to women who have learned a charting method, that each of the signs that we can choose to monitor is telling us about a different hormone. So cervical mucus is telling us about estrogen. Temperature is a sign of progesterone. LH is obviously measuring LH. So women need to really understand that's what their chart pattern is displaying, is this interplay between estrogen and progesterone being produced in the ovary, and FSH and LH, which are almost gear shift signals coming from the brain. FEMM really prioritizes understanding cervical mucus, so that's the estrogen marker, because it's such an important marker for both fertility and health. But we do teach a very small amount of like what's happening when we measure progesterone with a temperature rise. And we do encourage our teachers to understand the LH strip measurement, because we find that to be something that women really enjoy monitoring. It's easy to just order these strips straight from Amazon. and confirm their own observations, confirm that what they are seeing is what they're seeing. So we find that for women who have a healthy and normal cycle, they love to understand what they're seeing. I'm seeing estrogen now. My estrogen is rising. I'm ovulating. I have this LH strip. It's confirming what I think I'm seeing is what I am seeing. And now this experience of dryness is the sign of progesterone. But and so that's really what our method is based on, is really helping women to have the confidence of their own observations, which is, I think, what every method aims to do, and help women to really understand, is what I'm seeing healthy and normal in my chart? And do I have healthy and normal experiences to go with that? Or do I see, for instance, a really healthy and normal chart pattern, but I have some other symptom? And so recognizing and understanding what I am going through, or what the woman I'm working with is going through, so that she can make an informed choice. And also know that if she does have symptoms, if her cycle pattern is abnormal, if she's unable to chart, it's just too confusing, it's so frustrating, these are already signs that a consultation with our medical team could be a very helpful next step. And that is available. And so our FEMM teachers are really frontline. They're often the people who, they're very often mothers. They're bringing this information into their own communities. They're trusted advocates. They're the people that others turn to. Many of our FEMM teachers take the FEMM teacher training course to become Teen FEMM trained teachers, and to bring Teen FEMM into their churches, their communities, their youth groups. But a lot of our FEMM teachers want to just be FEMM teachers, to bring this information to individual women, to groups of women, to work with them on their own fertility, on their own health journeys. And so the FEMM content and material is open for that variety of application. And we love our FEMM teachers, and we really respect and admire the work they do, which is really a labor of love for most of them, in just having fallen in love with this information some way in their own lives. They're committed to bringing this to their communities in a variety of creative and time-intensive ways.
Right. Does FEMM use any type of paper, like lack of a better word, if we were talking about like a store, right? Like a brick and mortar. Do they have any paper charting, or is it just the FEMM app?
Yeah, we have a paper chart. It's very simple.
Okay.
We're happy to send that to anyone who wants it. Anyone can use it as a guide and create their own Excel chart or multiple pages. Some women are very technical, and they've created beautiful online Excel actions, but the paper charts are available to anyone, whether we know them or not, whether they're, so we're happy to provide those. And we also have a charting guide on our website that's just downloadable and can help people to understand how to get started on their own with the paper chart or with the app. And so a step-by-step, some people love to work with a teacher. Some people want to do it themselves. We just want to make this information available for people to jump in where they are, and then know how to reach out to get more help and more support as they need it.
Gosh, that's excellent. I didn't realize you guys had that opportunity to kind of do it your own. It makes me think of that book. What is it? The Take Charge of Your Fertility.
Yeah.
Kind of like a user-friendly book. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, that's great. I'll link to that in the show notes for anybody that's interested. Makes it very accessible. I was going to ask you, just, I guess, personally, when you were learning all of this information and kind of, diving into the research, when I was doing my master's thesis, looking at adolescent health and the menstrual cycle, and really paying attention to those years of maturation of the HPA axis, and how that the maturity of that and how it impacts the functioning of the ovaries, I was just so taken aback by how involved the brain is in our reproductive system. So I was curious if you had any moments like that kind of along your journey in learning about the science, just this, wow, I never I never heard that. I never knew that. I mean, I'm sure there were many. I know there were many for me, but that was one of the biggest ones was, and I had already been teaching for a few years at that point. And so I knew the importance of the brain and the hypothalamus, but to really dive in more and learn like, oh my gosh, I mean, the brain is kind of weird, especially in the adolescent years. This is like where it all begins, is it's far above the ovary is where the ovary starts working. So yeah, if there's anything like that, that I'd love to hear kind of your experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, every time we learn something, I think there's that, not an aha moment because we haven't figured any of it out, but just this incredible humility to say,
Mm.
like, this science is so beautiful, it's so overwhelming, it's so exciting, and it's there, and we know so much. We know so much more than we need. Let's say we're not just trying to figure this out as we go. We have this super abundant knowledge about our bodies, and we just need to make that available or accessible in ways that people can enter into it. The brain science, as you point out, is so fascinating. It's a developing field. It's moving so quickly. It's teaching us so much, and we have learned a lot ourselves in this area over the past many years. This is a big emphasis in the medical training that our doctors are going through. And so every year we have what's called our sort of core medical management masterclass, where we do a review of the systems, the physiology, the pathophysiology, the cases, how we assess this. That's what happens in June. But every October, we have an advanced medical course that does a deep dive into a specific topic. And this past October, the topic was hormones and mental health. And this was really a recognition on the part of our medical research team, or recognition is not a strong enough word. It was their first step in starting to unpack this enormous world of brain science and the link between our brain and our hormones. Our hormones, the signals come from the brain initially, so they're symbiotic, but that control center and how central it is to mental health, obviously, as we would imagine, but to this complete interplay that's happening in our bodies, and how, as you've pointed out, how essential this is in puberty. So we love working with our teens. We love seeing adolescents and teens on our medical platform, because we know that this is the time where hormones mature, that hormonal axis matures as it should, or it doesn't. But because of this incredible relationship or activity of the brain in this time, this is the moment in time where all the neuronal pathways are mapped out. And they only get mapped out properly for women if that young girl is ovulating as she should. And that's an individual process. But it's not so individual that by the time she's 15 or 16 or 17, we should still be waiting for it. We don't want to be waiting for it. We don't want to allow things that aren't working to go on for too long, because of the central importance of this marker of ovulation and the maturation of ovulation, that maturation of this hormone axis to her brain and her brain development long term. But we also know that if we catch some of these symptoms early enough, if we can say, hey, something is stalled or something is not moving the way it should, because of the brain plasticity that is in play and that's part of this entire maturation during puberty, we have the opportunity to teach the brain what it should be doing when it isn't doing what it should. And this can, of course, this can be scary when people look at the kinds of technologies and pharmacological interventions that are growing and developing. But it's very important for us to understand this, that is what's happening. There's this brain plasticity at this moment in life, and it's an opportunity for us to make sure that we're creating the conditions for this young woman to be as healthy as possible now and to maintain that health in the future. So we don't want to let symptoms go at this age in particular, which is, I think, the primary age where people think, well, you're young and you're healthy, and so we don't need to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We do want to do things because we want to prevent future heart disease. We want to prevent future metabolic disease. We want to prevent future infertility. We don't want to just be managing that, which is to a certain extent what we are all going to be doing if we allow that brain plasticity to close and we have an ovulatory dysfunction that's now worked into her body. So we talk a lot about restoring health and getting to the underlying condition so that we can diagnose and treat that root cause. But being able to do that during this moment of brain plasticity is essential. And so that closes late enough, let's say, in young women, around 23 to 26 for some women. So we do have this window where we want to make sure women are healthy, where they're getting the care they need, where they understand what's happening, and where they can start to make the choices, both their own lifestyle choices, but get any help from medical care that might be needed as well at that age. So the brain information is fascinating. It touches young women in very particular ways, as we know from so much research. There was the great Danish study that showed all of the heightened impact on young adolescents in their brain and mental health when they're on contraception. This is all the same science that's telling us the same stuff, which is that these women are at this very important time in their lives. Their brain is developing, their bodies are developing, hormones are involved in all of this. And the health of their body, their mental health, it's all related. And we need to be really careful to make sure that families and young girls have the information they need to make informed consent, make healthy choices at that age, because they will impact them really for the rest of their lives.
Oh my gosh, Anna. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, I hear nowadays, maybe they've taken away the blowhorn, so it's not as loud, but I was hearing quite frequently, I felt like, that puberty is just, this thing you have to get through, and it's not that important. We can just kind of override hormones, or we can just shut it off and then we'll just restart it later. And I'm thinking to myself, I am not a neuroscientist. I am not a doctor. I feel kind of like I am no one and I have very little knowledge. And I know that could not be further from the truth. I mean, everything leading up, the first period, and this when I talk to young girls and moms, the first period is a sign that for a while something has been going on. I think people just see the bleed, right? And they think, oh, okay, I got my period. Like that's the main event. And what I'm hearing you say, and my understanding of, the science behind that empowers and that powers FEMM and their approach to healthcare is that no, like that's a one thing that's happening, but there's a whole buildup to get it there. And in order for that bleed to happen, there has to be ovulation beforehand. And in order for ovulation to take place, there's a whole orchestra of communication that has to be happening. So to your point, if you get to that point of having a period, a true period where you've ovulated, you have a buildup of progesterone, that progesterone drops because you're not pregnant, and then your lining is shedding. Like something has gone so right there. Like that's such a good thing, and we want to keep that going. And we really want you to start off well. I've just become even more fascinated with the power of puberty and the onset of the first menses. And I think it'd be so interesting to see, kind of looking at a cohort of women to see like women who started well. Do women who start well, do they also end well compared to women who maybe don't start so well, don't get the best treatment, and then they have even and then they don't end well either. They have a really rough time. Do you know what I mean, Anna? Is there any correlation or hope to say like, well, if we can get on the outset of all of this and have women healthy at the beginning and stay healthy, then they can also end healthy. Like it doesn't have to be this, okay, well, it's a rough start and then we're kind of good here and then it's a really rough finish. It's like, well, is there a way to kind of stay somewhat even keel during this process? Obviously there's a lot of factors that influence our cycle health, environmental factors, et cetera, genetics, but just a thought I've been having more. I'm like, man, I wonder if we could really set girls up for success, women up for success during those early years.
Yeah, I think, the short answer is yes. And so we have on our website some research that talks just about the difference in women who ovulate through their lives versus women who don't ovulate or don't ovulate well, let's say regularly, and just how that impacts weight alone. So these studies are coming out. We've talked about the importance of ovulation in the brain. So that is, to your point, you set things up well, you have that neuronal development happening the way we want it to happen in puberty and adolescence. And a woman benefits from that for the rest of her life. She has the benefits of a strong, healthy, properly functioning, well-mapped brain. Now, our brains can map in different ways, and we can have different gifts and talents as a result of that. But these are things we should know and understand. A woman ovulates in her teens, and she has healthy bone density. That's a benefit she'll reap down the road. She ovulates in her teens, it's setting up better metabolic health. That's something she benefits throughout her life. So the answer is yes. Pilar talks about this in the medical trainings all the time, and she points to her mentor, Dr. Emil Steinberger, who was one of the pioneers in the field of reproductive endocrinology. And she is always emphasizing this simple point that he emphasized and to her, which is that women don't get out of it, they get into it. And the point that he's making is that we so often think like, well, you'll grow out of it. And especially with our teens, we all know people who've been told that. We have young women who tell us this all the time. Families are told, just wait. We don't want to intervene too much. We don't want to do more than is necessary. And that's true. But we do want to make sure that girls don't just get deeper into whatever their difficulty is. We want to make sure we're helping them get out of it. And that's where there's real sensitivity that's needed. And that's where, to your earlier point, there's a real cooperation that needs to be in place with understanding and learning our bodies and cycles. So finding a guide, whatever that guide is, the system, the FEMM teacher, however that young woman learns, and then knowing when to seek help and knowing where to get the help that can be as minimal, as sensitive, and as effective as possible to just get her out of those moments so that she is really experiencing health. When we talk to any woman, and again, these are fun moments at the medical trainings. And so it can be a conference of young women, or it can be a conference of medical professionals. I think the thing that is most astonishing for women to hear, of whatever age, of whatever medical background, is that something so simple, that symptoms are symptoms. I remember listening to the doctors, a long Q&A, almost arguing with Pilar to say like, well, what level of symptom is normal? And even when we did our course on menopause, well, what level of symptom is normal? Something is normal. I don't want to treat too aggressively. And Pilar just smiling to say like, a symptom is a symptom. And I think this is the good news that we have to share, which is so many people think that it's the curse of being a woman. You're just eating lettuce and exercising and gaining weight, or you're like doing everything you're supposed to do and you've just like got acne, or you just have all this brain fog and you can't think straight. And it didn't used to be that way, but there's like no clear thoughts you can access. Or you've been bleeding every day for months, or you've gone months without a bleed. These are very, very common experiences, as you know, and women put up with a lot. And women will tell you this with a straight face and say, but you don't mean that. That's not a problem, right? Because that's how it's always been for me. And it was like that for my mom, and it's like that for my sisters. And so there's the idea that I have always experienced this, and therefore let's say it's physiologically normal. So it's normal to my experience, but we need to help women understand that that is not physiologically normal. And so there's an experience of health that is often missing. And that is the great gift that we have to offer women. And that's true at every phase and stage of life. And when women have experienced health, they're maybe stronger and maybe more apt to hunt down a solution when something changes. But for a young girl, especially who enters puberty and suddenly gains weight, suddenly has acne, has these very irregular cycles, maybe tries to learn to chart, it's too confusing because she's too dry, or there's mucus every day, or none of this seems to make sense. We want to do more for those young girls, and we want to say to them, like, you've done your job. You're sharing this confusion with us. You've tried to learn this. It's not working. And it's not working because you've already identified this irregularity. You've identified this abnormality. And we want to let you know these symptoms are not healthy and normal. And we want to do our best to help start to restore them now for all the brain and health and long-term health consequences we want to talk about. And I think that's another thing Pilar emphasizes a lot is, we can talk about this in the sense of like ovulation and fertility and protect your future fertility. But we want to really emphasize to girls, and we want to really emphasize to women, we want you to be healthy for many decades. We want you to be healthy teens, healthy mothers, healthy grandmothers, or just healthy women through this whole phase. So it's not just about fertility. Fertility is a sign of health. Ovulation is a sign of health. And if you are ovulating, you are fertile. So we want to really emphasize this primacy of health, because I think that's what so many women express to us that they are missing. And the wonderful news we have to share is that we have this incredible science. It's developing all the time. Scientists in all these different areas are contributing to the knowledge we have. But the clinical care that's available now is there. And so it's really good news for women everywhere to know that your mother and your grandmother really did have to go through all of this. But we can do more for you now. Or you did go through all these challenges, but wherever you are now, let's see if the more we know can help you to have this stronger, better experience of health as you go forward.
Yeah, and I don't want to turn this into a conversation that's more of like a battle of the sexes, but I do remember being at a conference and listening to Pilar speak, and I was at the back at like an exhibiting booth, and she was talking about progesterone, and she made some comment about how with the rise of progesterone, sometimes your memory isn't as great, and every woman, like on point, we all were like, thank you. Like it was like this gasp, like this sigh of relief, because most of the women in that room had been pregnant at some point. And so we just thought like, oh my gosh, everyone told us we were just going crazy. Like it just felt so good. And she, of course, she laughs because I'm sure she's heard that before, the gasp, in the audience. But it is true. I think women do, the way you put it. It's very true. Like we kind of put up with a lot, and maybe that's just because we're busy. I don't know what the reason is, right? Or maybe it's like a cultural thing and it's just what we've always done. I don't know. You kind of make excuses, or you just think, oh, this is normal, because the normal is like, I'm not the only one going through this. Since there's other women experiencing this, it must be normal. When it's something like PMS. Yeah, that's one of my big things when I was working with patients or with women of different ages is, they're explaining these debilitating PMS symptoms and or these debilitating experiences of the menstrual bleed. I mean, they would have to call out of work, and they've been doing it for years, Anna, and I'm just like, that's not normal. Do you know that's not normal? I get that maybe like you and all your girlfriends are going through that. Something's off with all of you. Like this is not the baseline for normal, I love Laura Briden always talks about, I don't know, do you know Laura Briden? Yeah, Period Repair Manual. Okay. She wrote the Period Repair Manual. She's done some other books. But anyway, she talks about ovulation is a sign of health is her big thing. And she always says that, like that just because other people are going through it, it's not quote unquote normal. Like it should be, a period should be pretty much a non-event. I remember when I heard that for the first time, I'm like, it should not really be an event. Like it should just come and go with very little interruption to your life. I mean, that's just amazing. So yeah, I think the more people can hear these things and kind of dispel these myths, it's almost like female version of locker room talk, like, oh, you're just really craving chocolate, right? At that time of the month, whatever it is. It's like, actually, like something could be a little more or less off with what's going on. So yeah, seeking some care to cooperatively correct those underlying causes would be great, which I think is a good segue as we wrap up to talk about the app, because I am a new to FEMM user and I love the app. I was very old school and like I like my paper chart. And I love the app though. It's so user friendly. It's free, which is amazing. And I can download my chart and send it right. And I communicate with my FEMM doctor through the website, right? And I just, before my appointments, I just download my chart, upload it to, email it to her, and I can log everything. You can log, emotions, your medications, intercourse. I mean, everything. You guys just have everything in there, and it's free. If I didn't say that already, it's free. It's such a great app, and I didn't know about it for quite a while. And now that I know about it, I'm telling everybody about it because I'm like, it's free, and it's got so much that you can do with it, and then you can easily share it with a medical professional, regardless of the method you quote unquote use or doctors that are trained. You can easily share this data with anyone who knows how to read the female cycle. It's so user friendly. So compliments to you guys, Anna. The app is just wonderful. I really 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 like it a lot.
Well,
And so
thanks.
yeah, it's great. And so you said people can find it. It's for Apple and for Android, right? I mean, I don't know if there's any more information you want to share about the app, but I really do love it.
It's hard to top what you've just said. Nobody wants to interrupt. Yeah, a raving. Yeah, the rave review of an outside independent user. No, it's I think the main thing is just to say it is available in the Android and the Apple stores. You just have to make sure you put in FEMM. So if you spell FEMM correctly, FEMM Health, the app will come right up. It is free. We're committed to keeping it free without freemium upgrades. So that is an important focus of our work. I would also just highlight it has the highest privacy protections in the market, and it's been evaluated for those by, let's say, non-friendly bureaucrats at the European Union. So we know we've passed with flying colors, and that's another important thing for us. So it does have the highest privacy protections. We don't sell or use the information. The information can anonymously be downloaded only for research purposes, but it isn't used for any other purpose. And we love hearing from our app users. So if there are other needs or features or bugs that you find, that's how we keep the app going. And we love hearing these reviews.
Now, I do have a question about the app, actually, Anna.
Yeah.
So as a teacher, as a fertility awareness teacher, I tell kind of my blanket statement about apps is use them to store information, but you be the primary interpreter of what you're seeing. I do really enjoy the FEMM app. Every day when you enter in your data and you hit done, it will give you kind of like a little like a couple sentences, like here's what's going on in your cycle. Your progesterone is high right now, or here, side of your peak mucus, you're going to be ovulating soon. And but because I know a lot about it, obviously, because I'm a teacher, like some of the things I'm like, no, that's not right. Like I know where I'm at. I know what's going on. Another nice thing is that the app, it will pick up something that's a little off, and it does recommend maybe you contact a FEMM medical professional, which I really like that too. It doesn't say, it encourages you to seek help, not in a scary way. Like the app doesn't, I don't think the app assumes like it can pick up on, underlying diseases and disorders. It's just like, oh, this is a little bit of a different pattern. Maybe reach out and get some help. So it's very gentle in its encouragement. But I don't know. Again, love everything about it. I think I still would hold to don't let the app tell you everything about your cycle. Rely on a medical professional and a teacher and on your own knowledge of your body. Do you think that's kind of a fair assessment or no?
We've done our best to thread the needle with this app to really respect what you've just outlined, and allow people the freedom to enter their own observations and understand for themselves what they're seeing, while hopefully getting a useful or a friendly or an accurate nudge along the way. So we have a segment of users who are highly informed, like yourself, who really have spent years understanding this, teaching this, knowing this. And then we have a segment of users who, like I said, they download the app and they just start using it as they go. And we know that for many of those users who've reached out to us, the signals from the app, especially about irregular cycles or irregular pattern lengths, that they'll say to us, well, for 4 or 5 months, the app was telling me every single day that I should reach out to a FEMM teacher or a FEMM doctor, and I just ignored it. And then a lot of women will finally, because they have a desire for a pregnancy or because they've had a miscarriage, this desire for a child overrides the annoyance at the app or the inertia of making an appointment. And so many of those women have then made an appointment with a FEMM doctor and been able to successfully conceive and have a healthy pregnancy. So others have told us, well, I was just in, like you said, premenstrual pain. There are certain things that become pain points that they finally prompt towards that. So we know that there's a sort of happy medium. We also know that our younger users, which is, we think obviously it's the future of everything. They love learning through apps. They're comfortable with that. They want that information. So there's even more automation that our debates that our team is always taking a look at. We know that there are requests that the young teens love to see. And we think it's really important that they feel comfortable and happy using our app, because for a long time we used to say, if you like your app, keep your app. But especially for teens, that world is changing. And I think it's important for parents and educators to really understand that as you monitor what your children are seeing and receiving, these apps are feeding information directly and privately into their hands. And so it's really, we monitor a lot of the existing, the big apps that are out there. But the young women themselves have complained to us so much at the sexual content, the promotion of sexual pleasure or other forms of pleasure that they're receiving through their charting apps. They don't like it. They don't want it. They can't shut it off. And it feels like a violation to them so much of the time. So in that sense, we can really say FEMM is the main app that is on the app stores. It's free, it's stable, it's going to be there. And it's really science and evidence based, and it's not promoting any other ideas or providing information or agendas that are separate from just understanding who I am, what's happening in my body, and how is this going. So there are different needs we're trying to serve in different ways, where we do pay close attention to our young users, and we love to see them using the app, and we love the great review that you just gave us. So we love hearing from our app users, and we love hearing what people love, what they want more of, what they don't love, and that does inform what we're able to do in certain instances as we go forward.
Yeah, I think that's important. I know we've had mothers express concerns with certain apps and the, sexual intercourse component of it being maybe too obtruse and just, not necessary. They, with their daughter, they just want to have a place where they can safely store information. And I would just say the FEMM app, from my experience, is, the little part that you can log in intercourse for women that are engaging in intercourse to track it. Everything's just very subtle and not, overt. There's no, I don't get annoying notifications, and nothing bad. Nothing bad at all. I guess I just want to be the perpetual voice is just of, know your body well. Just know your body well, and then use an app to help you with that. And having apps that can help you learn your body are great too. But you can watch for signs and symptoms and monitor those things in store. And I do like too that you can add in your own symptoms. You can add in your own medications. You can add to the app. If they don't have in there kind of something that describes you, there's an option to add more. And so that's helpful, especially I think when you're communicating with your medical professional, because maybe there's a symptom in there that isn't listed, but you're experiencing it. And so just go ahead and put it in and, kind of highlight it for that day in which you're experiencing it. So it's just great because it's everything that I would do on paper, but now I can just do it on my phone. So I'm up to date with modern times now, Anna. So I like it.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the modern world. I should just say that on the customize tab, you can also remove things that you don't use.
There you go.
So for mothers or teens or individuals who don't need some features, those can just be turned off for the time frame you don't need them, and then they can be added back in later on the same whenever they are needed.
Oh, perfect. I didn't even realize that because I haven't had the need to remove anything. So that's great to know too. Okay. So everyone go get the app, and then I'll link an app link in the show notes to the app, and then to that charting guide you mentioned, and to the FEMM website as well. Anything else, Anna, before we finish up? Thank you so much for your time. Anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd want to share about FEMM, about fertility awareness?
No, it's been a pleasure. We've covered a lot. All of the information is on the website, from booking an appointment to learning about our courses, accessing some of our research. So it's
finding a teacher,
finding a teacher, finding a doctor, the directories, information about all of that is there.
Great. That's so great. Yeah. Another great resource for everyone to go check out. You have no excuse. It can all be done virtually too. So thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much, Anna, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
That wraps up another episode of the NFP podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found our discussion enlightening and empowering. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please connect with us by sending us an email with your questions and stories to thenfpshow@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with more insights, tips, and heartfelt conversations about natural family planning. Until then, love responsibly.